Okay, in today's video, we're going to talk about should I buy the duplex or should I pass on it? So I'm going to give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down based on the numbers of the duplex. What are the numbers? We've got the purchase price, we have the current rents, we have the lease terms, we also have the future rents. And so based on the numbers of each one, when I get back to my computer, I'm going to run it through my spreadsheet. Back in 2018 and 19, my wife and I acquired about 10 or so duplexes. I'm going to use that spreadsheet that I made decisions on to acquire a portfolio of multifamilies, and I'm going to run through 3 duplexes for you to see if I would buy them in today's market, and I'll let you know that, and I'll give you all the numbers associated with it. So let's get started here. We're at 3202 Eastern Avenue in the community of Kentwood, and so this is a great area. It's up and coming. There's a lot of people. Look at, they're obviously building a lot of apartments here. The prices are still moving upward, and has a huge high school. It's kind of on the outskirts of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Prices are doing pretty good. The question at play today is, for an investment property, would this make money? That's really the question. So I want to make sure that I'm clear on this one. Is I'm running it through a very specific filter, which is, will this create passive income? And I'll let you know if I believe that it will, and whether or not I would give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Hi, Kevin Yoder, team leader of Yoder Real Estate, bringing to you valuable information about all things real estate and living and working in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area that you cannot find anywhere else. And if you like this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to it so that you can see more content just like this.
Now we're at 4690 Stauffer. We're still at this one a little bit. Remember, the other one we were at over on Eastern Avenue, which is like 2 miles that way, was listed for $299,900. Don't know the rents on that one. I'm going to assume those are market rents are around $1,100 because they're 2-bedroom units. So what's the difference with this duplex? The price jumps up from $299,900 in the other one to $425,000. So now we need to make the numbers work for a non-owner occupied duplex for $425,000, which means it needs to cap. So as a point of reference here, there's 2 ways that one can use and utilize a duplex. One is you can move in one side and rent the other, or the other one is that you can rent the whole thing out. Now remember, the numbers need to work a lot differently if you are renting the entire duplex out, and the numbers don't need to be not nearly as sweet or on the money if you're living in one side, but you certainly need to be aware of your numbers and make them work if you're not living here, because the entire thing has to be cash flowing without the benefit of having your mortgage paid for and living there at the same time. I'm hoping that makes sense to you. So this one is $425,000. It's been on the market for about 6 days. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths in each unit, and the rent per unit is $1,600 on one and $1,730. So I'll do the math on that later for you. But again, we're dealing with, so rents are higher than market averages here because the bedroom bath combinations exceed the average. So the really is going to come down to this, is we'll dig into cap rates as well, but mostly it's about cash flow. And so acquisition price, $4.25, and monthly rents at $1,730 and $1,600 respectively. Can that gross amount of income after we back out mortgage debt, monthly expenses, what are you left with? Does that make a worthwhile investment? On to property number 3.
Okay, shifting gears on you. I'm back at the office, and for the third duplex that I'm going to analyze with you is I went outside of Kentwood. I'm not standing in front of them. It doesn't matter. We're analyzing the numbers on this to see if it's worthwhile. If I would buy it, if I would put this into my portfolio, and if not, why? And if so, why? So let's take a look at this third one. For the third one, I wanted to get outside of Kentwood where we were for the 2 others. If you remember, the prices were $425,000 and $300,000. And those were both duplexes. Now let's jump into Grand Rapids, and I'm going to show you the search I just did. And you'll see here on the left side, I wanted to see up to $250,000, 2 units only. So we're comparing apples to apples. And then I wanted to be right in Grand Rapids. So you can see that if you scroll out a little bit, there's only, say, 4 available. You can see by the green icons. But look at the one that's right up here. And the reason why I chose this one is because it's in Creston Heights. Creston Heights has been noted as being one of the hottest neighborhoods in the entire country. Several articles came out in the last couple of years. I thought, well, let's take a look at it. What can you get for under $250,000 in Creston Heights, notably one of the hottest neighborhoods in all of the country, let alone in Grand Rapids, Michigan? So let's look at it, and we'll look at the numbers here. So again, we're comparing this from one very narrow angle, which is, and I know we could do future value assessments and all those things and speculations. I'm not going to go there, because if I put my money into something, I want an immediate return. I want passive income. income. And if you're looking at getting into an investment like this, that might be a smart move, because if it can produce for you passive income, there's only one source of actual financial freedom, and that is when you can separate your time from the income. This allows us to do that, but the number has to be a certain number, or else you have to buy so many of them. You have to have millions and millions of dollars to make that happen. Let's look at 1349 Maud Avenue. Again, this is a up and down duplex, top and bottom. It has 2 bedrooms in each unit, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and it looks like the rent is $1050 and $1045 respectively. So combined, that's $2,095. Now, I own a handful of this product. I have a portfolio of the 2-1 duplex style in Grand Rapids, not too far from here, and my current market rent is sitting somewhere around $1,200 or $1,300 if they're really nice. So these are underperforming, which is a good thing. It may not seem like a good thing, it's a good thing. And if you read closely to the listing, it shows that one of them is vacant, which creates a pretty good opportunity, because what we're doing here, the formula is to increase the monthly rents by adding value to the property, improving the property. So let's take a quick look at this one. We didn't do this with the other ones. We didn't look at the inside, but I gave you the numbers. Gross rent is $2,095. When I get to my spreadsheet at the end, I'm going to have that number plugged in, and at the very bottom, it's going to be a go, don't go. So if you've ever been interested in purchasing multifamily, whether it's a duplex or a 3-unit, the numbers work out pretty much the same until you get into apartments. Okay, so let's just say this would work from anywhere from a duplex up to a 4 or 6 unit apartment situation, which there's hardly anything available right now, at least in our market. So let's take a look at it real quick. So if you look at this property on Maud, what I'm noticing here is, and this is actually a good thing, but it needs one of those units needs a little bit of work. You see how the cabinets are falling apart a little bit, the doors are falling off, all good. And this is the occupied one, so you're not going to be really getting in there and doing work on it yet until such time that the lease comes up for expiration. Remember, when you purchase a property with the tenant in place, the tenant's rights apply, which means that their lease agreement supersedes the purchase agreement. So if there's a lease in place, the tenant has the right to stay there until such time that lease agreement is coming to the end. At that point, you can introduce to them what market rent would be and ask them if they want to pay it. If not, then you can either land at a place somewhere in the middle, or ask them to leave and give them a 30-day notice. Those are your options. So let's take a look at the vacant one real quick. Looks pretty good shape. So it looks like this one, what they did was they improved the vacant unit, and of course the occupied one is a little bit, beat up, but it's just because there's occupants in there. So not a bad situation here. Gross rent's $2,095, Northeast Grand Rapids, sweet spot, great neighborhood, and the numbers are, this one's $50,000 less than the one in Kentwood, the first one, and then the second one, this would be, oh my gosh, about $200,000 less. So next I'm going to share with you the numbers. We're going to run through the numbers for all 3 of these, come out to a conclusion, which is the best one to purchase, if any, and if I would add them to my portfolio. Now is the moment of truth. We're going to break these numbers down, because when you get past all the fluff being, do I like this siding, or how about the roof, or maybe I'm enamored by the neighborhood, or maybe even the lot, it really comes down to, when it comes to buying multifamily, a duplex is the smallest type multifamily. Then you have a 3-unit, 4-unit, and then you get into the apartments. And I chose a duplex for 2 reasons. One is it's simpler to analyze and show you in a video form. It might be a lot more complex if I get into analyzing apartments. But 2, I also have a portfolio of them, so I can speak very clearly, and I know the numbers. And so that's what I wanted to get with again today. You'll hear me say it over and over and over again. It comes down to knowing your numbers. It's not just the purchase price. It's going to be the rents, the future rents, your net operating income, the passive income at the end of the month and the end of the year. How much do you have in your hand or your bank account that represents true passive income, a separation of you from your time? And that's why within these analysis here, I've actually included a property management fee. Why is that? Because it's a part of my basic philosophy. To own rental real estate is not to have another job. I have enough jobs. I own a real estate company for sales. I have a coaching company. I'm also a full-time father and husband, and I have other endeavors. I don't want to also, by the way, go take care of toilets and lights and electricity. Now, someone else may argue that point, and I'm not here to dispute that. I'm talking about using this as a vehicle for passive income so that it can create the lifestyle of my dreams for me and my family, so that we can be somewhere else and not have to be here simultaneously to make these things work. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. As you know, we started off with 6202 Eastern Avenue. It's a duplex for $299.9, and I plugged it into my nerd up tracker. The first one, I'm gonna break the numbers down for you, then I'm gonna skip through rather quickly because I don't want to make this video too long. But let's look at the purchase price, $299.9. You have a down payment. So here's the thing to understand is that the down payment for a non-owner occupied property will be anywhere between 25 and 30%. So you have to understand that means the down payment is going to be a hefty amount, about $75,000. Okay, if you're living in one side, then you can get a down payment for a lot less, for about maybe 3.5% if you're getting an FHA product, or 5% for a conventional. But for now, let's focus in on the 25% down payment. When you add your closing costs, which represent about 3% of the purchase price, so now you're at $83,972. And then your first year improvements, I plugged in $20,000. Why is that? Because part of my formula for making these numbers work for me is I improve the property. It may not be $20,000, it may be $10,000, but when I was doing this and building my portfolio, we would put in a minimum of $20,000. So I use it as a standard number to run through all of these, assuming the owner wants to improve the property. Okay, so then total first year invested would be about $104,000. So if you're thinking about buying a duplex in 2023, just grab a hold of that number. That's going to be about right for a $300,000 duplex. I'll give you a couple other examples, but that's the total first year invested with closing costs, down payment, and also your fix up money of about $20,000. So the mortgage amount, after you back out the down payment, you're going to mortgage $225,000, and that gives you a equity position at close of 75% loan to value, which means your loan of $225,000 is 75% of the $300,000. Okay, moving right along to the other numbers. Annual operating expenses, calculated the mortgage at 19, taxes, insurance, utilities. I'm going to keep that out, that the owner is paying for gas and electric. A lot of times the tenants are doing that. Property management, there's your property management fee. $75 a unit, so $150 a month would give you $1,800 a year. And then your maintenance. This is all a percentage based on exact numbers that are pulling from my portfolio. I plugged them right in here for you. So your total annual operating expenses are about $10,500. There's something called the 50% rule. I'll get back to that in a minute, okay? Now we're looking at the income on this duplex. We have $24.75 a month. These are current actual months. When I stood in front of this duplex yesterday, the rents weren't posted. Now they have been posted, so $24.75. Looks like they're getting max rents for that particular area, which is good. Also, it'd be nice if you could do some improvements. You probably get a better deal on it, okay? So if that's annual of $29,700, plugged in a vacancy allowance of 5%, which means that's going to reduce. Sometimes you're going to have some vacancies in there. And effective gross income then is $28,215. So how do you get to the effective? You minus you back out the vacancy allowance from the gross annual to get to the effective gross income. And then you have something called the net operating income. Oops, let me get back up there. The net operating income is annual gross income minus annual operating expenses. So now you have your annual gross income minus the annual operating expenses gives you the net operating income of $17,682. So here's your mortgages. Here's your mortgage, taxes, insurance. All of that's calculated on an annual basis up here. So you have your total operating expenses of $10,533. That's subtracted off of this number to get you this number. Okay, let's talk about cash on cash return. So cash on cash return is their percentage. And in fact, I'll just show you what it is. I plug all these things in here so I can remind myself and teach others. Is when you divide your net income before taxes by your actual cash outlay. You multiply that by 100, you get a percentage. The minimum would be 10%. You want to get a minimum of 10% cash on cash return. So what we're saying is here that this particular property, your net operating income, $17,682 the first year. $17,682 net operating income, not to be confused with profit. But that number, so in other words, you had a net operating income of $17,682. Your investment was, total invested in the property was right here. Total invested was $104,000. So of that total investment, you had 17% coming to you in net operating income. Okay, let's get down to the bottom numbers. This is what matters most, cash flow. Now, before I do that, let me show you this number here. This is important. What this says is that your percentage of gross operating income is you got to pay attention to that, because what this is showing you is that the operating expenses per month are absorbing 99% of the income. That's a big number, and it's not good. So let me just kind of lock that in there, okay? So those are the numbers for the income and the expenses. At the very end of the day, the positive cash flow of this property is $24.25. The annual is $299. So I won't get into cap rate today because that'll take too long, but just understand that those are the numbers. Remember, your annual cash flow $291, and you invested first year $103,972. Getting back to and I'm not going to go through this detail for all the rest of them, okay, because it's getting too long, but your 50% rule is essentially it's an extremely aggressive or conservative approach to analyzing properties. And I picked it up from something called Bigger Pockets podcast. Essentially what they do is they take a 50% rule and they say the income, let's just assume that you're going to have half the income, which is based on a idea that there'll be a 50% occupancy or vacancy rate, okay, 50%. And so they run it all the way through. So they want to give you the most aggressive, conservative approach so that you can analyze properties real fast, saying that 50% of the income is going to be absent from the equation, okay? That's how they run that. Based on the 50% rule, there's a negative cash-on-cash return of 4%. So I kind of stay away from the 50% rule. I plug it in just so I can get a look at it. What would be the most conservative approach? Let's jump over to Stauffer. Stauffer, again, remember Stauffer was purchased for $425,000, okay? And the rents on Stauffer, let me just get into the spreadsheet. So $425,000, your total first year invested was $139,000, and that puts you at a 75% equity position at close. You have your mortgage. We'll get down to the nitty gritty of the numbers here. So your current actual monthly rent is $3,330. So these appear to be at market rents. Doesn't appear to be much room here to improve those. Your net operating income is $27,197, which means your annual first year cash on cash return is 19.57%. At the end, you have a monthly positive cash flow of $204 a month. Annually is $2,447, so $2,448 a year. Okay, so that's property number 2. Let's jump over to Maud Avenue, which would be property number 3, which is the duplex on the northeast side. Those first 2 were in Kentwood. Let's take a look at version 1, and I'll show you version 2 in a second. It's important. So this one was listed, as you can see, for $224,000. So I ran all the numbers on that. I also ran the numbers a second way, and I'll show you that in a second. So 224, putting in a first year invested of $82,720. Same thing, 25% down payment. Operating expenses are listed here. Jumping down to actual monthly rent, they're not at market rents. I can tell you that they're low, which is a good thing for an investor. And I'll show you why in a minute. Gives you a net operating income of $16,108 and a cash on cash, first year cash on cash return of 19.47. Okay, at the very end here, you can see the monthly cash flow, positive cash flow of $272 with annual cash flow of $3,265. So far, that's the best scenario as far as a positive cash flow on a monthly. Remember, Stauffer was higher than the other one at $2,447. Now we jumped up to $3,265. What I did was I said, okay, let's look at this property again. Let's look at Maud. It's listed for $224. It's been on the market for 21 days. Not terribly long, but what would happen if we could get a discount on this property? What if we could get it down by, say, $10,000 or $12,000? I plugged in then for a version 2 of the same property is $215. Now, why did I do that? Because when I acquired my portfolio, it may be harder to do right now with this current market, but there are ways to do that. You have to look for properties that are not listed. You have to find deals, okay? But let's say you get it for $215. Let's run the numbers down at $215. So $215,000 lowers the monthly first year invested because the down payment goes down. It lowers your mortgage amount. Your rents are at $2,400 a month, which is pretty good. And I want to confirm that with you here. Actually, no, what I did there is I actually improved. Here's what I did. I took the rents, which is the current rent, and I jumped up to the pro forma rent for version 2, which means we're going to make an assumption that we improve the property, and now we're at max rents, $2,400 a month. What does that look like for the numbers? Well, you can see that the cash on cash return first year jumped from 19.47 up to 23.4%. So that's an improvement. At the bottom, though, this is where the numbers get far better for you. So the percentage of your gross operating income, the monthly expenses reduced down to 76% of your monthly operating expenses. So you went from 87 down to 76. So there's an improvement. What the best part of this scenario, which is getting a better deal on the front end, making sure you're identifying a property in an area that's improving, that's deemed to be one of the best areas to live in, and property values are going up faster than other areas. That's number one. Number two is if you can get a deal on it, you can get it under list price or under market value. You're already at a better equity position from day one. You're improving it by putting in 20,000 or so, maybe it's usually a percentage per year, and you're sitting in a sweet spot. Now your annual income went from 3,265, and that jumped up to 6,700, so almost $7,000 a year. So this brings to light that there's a very clear winner with this scenario. So if you purchased a property, you put down, and this is my formula, I'm going to give it to you right here. If you put down 25%, you improve the property by 10% in year one, and the property values increased by 10% in year one. You have 25 plus 10, that's 35, plus 10 more, that's 45%. So now we also improve the rents, but let's just leave that alone. They're talking about the property value. So now you're sitting at a really sweet spot. You are owning the property at a 55% loan to value, which means that your loan is only 55% of the property's value. This is an excellent equity position to be in after year one for owning a multifamily. 55% loan to value, which means if property values fluctuate, you're sitting in a good spot. If you need to dump it quickly, you have plenty of equity. Okay, so the clear winner here is 1349 Maud Avenue. Now listen, this is about knowing your numbers, and I said it over and over and over again, but without going through this exercise, it's very difficult to know what you're going to get. So you have to know where you are, where the property values are going. If you can do that, and get with somebody, get with a professional, an agent that can give you those numbers. You have to have your numbers dialed in. And at the end of the day, it's about the passive income. It should be anyway, because you notice that nowhere in here did I do a hard case on speculation, although I do have insights into this particular one on Maud, because it happens to be an area that I know about and I know the values are going up. But it's not a purely speculative move. I would never do that. I would never sit at a negative monthly cash flow so that someday, hope to God, maybe this property will improve in value. Okay, hopefully this has served you today. If you would like to know more about investing in real estate in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I use this tracker for my clients, and I'll share it with you as well, so you make sure you're making wise decisions. If any of these properties, Eastern, Stauffer, and Maud, appeal to you and you'd like to set up a showing and actually run this analysis through again, happy to do that for you as well. If you'd like to connect with us here at Yoder Real Estate, this is the sort of thing that we are bringing to our clients on a daily basis so that they make educated decisions. Whether you're coming in from another state or you're living here locally and you want to invest in real estate. Remember, I gave you the scenario with renting out both units. If you lived in one and you rented out the other, that changes the numbers drastically, and I can inform you on that too. Check us out online at yoderrealestate.com. If you found this video to be helpful and you want to learn more about stuff like this, investing in properties or understanding the numbers associated with that, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to this channel so that you're aware of when I come back on and share more information. Share this with a friend that's looking to invest in real estate. Go out there and make wise investing decisions, and have a great day.